message. Heavenly Father, we again thank you for bringing us all here today, this sanctuary, to hear your message, to be able to pray to you, and to be able to praise you, and truly hear your message. We so thankful that throughout the week that you watches us and always take care of us. And as we are sitting here, listening to your message, it provides us with the hope, it provides us with a strength to continue to be a Christian and be a children of God. We pray that through today's message, that we have something in our heart that we can take back, and as we live, we can use this as an example and use this as our guidance to live as a disciple of Jesus Christ. We pray all this in the name of Christ. Amen. Amen. Before start today's message, I wanted to. We sang a hymn called, "It Is Well with My Soul." I don't know how many of you. I know, pastors will know. How many of you know how the song came about, how the hymn came about? Because I was interested before, and a few times, kind of had a chance to look into it. But if you don't know, I'd like to share this. "It Is Well with My Soul" is actually written by a guy named Horatio Spafford. Okay, it's actually written in 1873. Okay, he was a lawyer in the Chicago area. In 1871, Chicago had a great fire. It destroyed bulk of the city, right? And he had he was a really successful lawyer, but because of that fire, a lot of his business dealings and got destroyed, and he was in financial trouble. And so 1871, when the fire happened, a lot of things got destroyed. 1873, the Chicago, because of all of that economic downturn, he was having a financial trouble. But his family had a plan to go to Europe. Okay? So they were supposed to go. He had to stay to take care of some business matters. So his wife and 4 daughters got on a ship, left. In the middle of that journey, it collided with another vessel, and all 4 daughters died. The only one survived was his wife. So his wife sends a telegram to him that said, "Saved alone." So anyway, you think about this, in a couple of years, he loses a lot of his business. Not only that, 4 of his daughters die. Okay, in that situation, now he's traveling to Europe to meet his wife. He gets close to where that accident happened. He writes this. "It is well with my soul." So, in such a, I don't know, every time I hear this, because I am a sinner, and I am, most times ungrateful, many times a lot of complaints, but I can see someone like this who is full of grace and full of God's love. He knows this. And eventually he becomes, he does well, and things get better. He has 3 more sons, several kids, and he helps out a lot of different things. But ultimately, because of God, because we are children of God, it is well with my soul. Okay? No matter what it is. Okay? I just wanted to share that today. It's nothing to do with today's message, but it's something that and I'm sure there are hymns or some wording that you read or about some of these things and would give you peace and know that God's love for you. Okay? So today's message is title is basically about said Jesus forgives sins. Okay, we know that Jesus throughout the Bible forgive people, that and ultimately, okay, what he did on the cross was to forgive our sin. Okay? But this is really a good example. So we read through John chapter 8 through 11. So I'm going to go a little bit. Then we always talk about what forgive means as a definition. Okay? So as a you can go to Webster's dictionary or dictionary anywhere, and this is kind of stuff that it says forgive means. Some of these wordings that I would like you to just think about or focus. Grant pardon, okay? Give up the claim. Cancel the indebtedness. So it's like giving something, right? And so those are the normal definitions. I'm going to continue to talk about what does forgive in terms of definition. There is a forgiver, someone who is forgiving something, okay? And there is someone who receives that forgiveness, right? There's this relationship. It's like a word using pardon, canceling, that's the kind of word, and it's one direction. It's not both directions. It's not a give and take. When you say forgive, it is one direction. The person who is forgiver is forgiving something and another person. One of the most important things, there is a power. You have to have a power to forgive. Without that power, let's say you don't have ability. Like normally, let's talk about someone commits a crime. You are not a judge. You don't have a power to forgive. Sometimes president give a pardon to some people who have committed something. But without that power, you cannot forgive. Okay? And that power, if you think about it, is what Jesus has, is a power to forgive. Just want you to understand. So the one that forgives has the power. So, John chapter 8, verse 11, 1 through 11. It's really interesting story. And the Bible is full of stories, right? I mean, I used to be, some stories are really very dry and boring. You know, in the Old Testament, you know, like Numbers and stuff, it's really dry. But these are just stories. So when you think about the story, okay, of the adulterous woman, we have to think about what is that event? How did that happen? Okay? When Jesus was teaching, so Jesus was teaching in the temple court. Okay? So that's the beginning of it. When Jesus was, and people were in the temple court, and then he was teaching them. Who was there? Of course, Jesus was there. And then teachers of the law and the Pharisees came, brought the adulterous woman, and then the rest of the crowd was there. Right? So that's the setting. So think about that in that way. You can picture it. You can picture, here's the temple, Jesus is there, and there's a crowd around them, and then there's teachers of laws, Pharisees, and they brought this woman. Okay? So, why the teacher in the law and Pharisees? They're trying to trap Jesus. To make, there's two ways you can look at this. One is by bringing this adulterous woman and saying, what should we do? The law of Moses is telling them to kill her. It doesn't exactly say stone her, but it's the death is a penalty, right? So in the Leviticus chapter 20 and 10, Bible tells the adulteress, and this is kind of, you can actually think of this as they are both men and women. It does not just say women should be put to death, but both men and women should be put to death. Okay, that is the law of Moses. It's interesting though, Pharisees and teachers of law did not bring the men with women. So there's something wrong there. Okay, maybe man was not there. Maybe they didn't catch him or whatever. But anyway, it is wrong. They should bring both of them if they were going to ask this question. Right? One important thing: woman who came, okay, as an adulteress, she did not defend herself. It's just, she didn't even say, have mercy. She didn't say, I didn't do it. It was they do. Has no defense. It's really important that you want to recognize this, okay? She doesn't even say anything. So later on I'll say, and think about the woman who has no defense, and you will relate to like us. Okay? And then she just responds, right? They ask him, should we stone this woman? And then Jesus responds, okay? And also, Jesus has a conversation with the woman at the end. So, I want you to think about who were there, who was there, and I want you to think about what was the situation, what was happening. And that's what was happening. So, who are they? Okay? Who are these people? We know teachers of law and Pharisees who are trying to trap Jesus. Okay? They did not have a good intention. They were not as concerned about women as much as concerned about how to get Jesus. Okay? So they had a wrong, wanted to do something that is not correct. Okay? Then we have an adulterous woman, right? Who was caught and brought. And then there's a crowd that is gathered around. Of course, there was Jesus, but there are three groups that beside Jesus that was there. So who are they? And I want you to also think about how are we related to those three? How do we relate to them? Are we or are we not? Okay? It's easy to think that, well, I'm not this, I'm not that. But let's talk about it, think about it, and maybe we can see there are some similarity with us. So who are the accusers, right? We already said that's teachers of law and Pharisees. They were trying to trap Jesus. And you may say, and I will admit it, times this is me also, okay? We're saying we are no different if the reason that if you look back on your life and seriously look at the situations and things you have done, you notice that times that, and I know I was the Pharisee trying to do something, okay? Trying to be, I have accused someone, condemned someone. You may say, I've not done that in public. And of course, generally, we don't do that in public, right? In the public, we don't do it. But in private, we do it many times. We judge, condemn, and we consider ourselves to be righteous. We want someone to pay for the crimes they have committed or wrongs they have done. We want someone to pay for or punish. We do. That's a human nature. And we make a justification by the name of supposedly say that we are doing the right things. And so we're no different than teachers of laws, Pharisees, who came to Jesus with this woman to punish her. Not only that, we're trying to trap Jesus. Who are the crowds that are gathered around? Okay, who was listening to what Jesus was teaching? Who do you think they are? Right? They're bystanders who just heard the story of the adultery. okay, of this woman. But they were going to participate in the punishment of the woman. So if Jesus said, which he was not going to, said, it's okay to stone her, they would have stoned her. Not just the teachers of law and Pharisees, but they would have been part of this to try to punish this woman. So, are we different from them? We are the same also. You know what we do? Many times we take part when someone accuses someone of something or get angry with something, we become part of that. We talk about it and say, yeah, we should do that. We help. We try to be helpful to say, this is wrong, this is not right, and try to determine right or wrong, and become part of the condemnation or part of punishment. We're no different. When the Bible talks about these stories, one of the things that we have to remember really truly is, am I part of that story? Have I done things that might consider as that? It's always the teaching moments. When Jesus has these moments, and the Bible talks about it, it's always that you can relate to what you are, whether it was 10 years ago, now, or even in the future. Okay? So, the accusers, crowds, they're all part of us. Then you might say, so what does Jesus respond? How did he respond? In verse 7. Jesus has to be not only a smart person, smart man, but it's spiritually. These answers, it just doesn't come because you're a human being and just smart. It's almost divine answers, right? And he says, let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at him. It's such a profound statement. It's almost the truth. So, what would have happened when you're part of the crowd, when you're a Pharisee and you're a teacher of law, who was there to trap Jesus and wanted to stone this woman? They all had to reflect on themselves. They had to. And probably felt shame, and they all left. None of them was there. This is, on this one thing alone, you can tell that God's divine intervention and God's way of handling things. They all left. It doesn't matter if it was the Pharisees, teachers, or the crowds, old or young, they all left. So, woman who was committed adultery. So who is that woman? Again, there's no question on her guilt. There's no defense that says, well, people are mistaken. I didn't do it. There's no defense to this. Same we are. Our sin against God, there's no defense for us. The penalty for that, adultery, at that time, is a death. These days, it's not even crime anymore. It used to be in Korea, adultery was a crime. Now I think it's not even a crime. So, the penalty is death. What is really interesting about this is that we're sane. Okay? We commit sins. No one on this earth, beside Christ, that did not commit sin. And there's no question of our guilt. We are all guilty. And our penalty for our sin is eternal death, just like this woman was. So, we're this woman. So it's interesting when you look at this situation, except for Jesus, three, right? We have teachers of law, Pharisees, and the crowds that was just bystanders. And then we have this woman. They are all us. At the times we are the Pharisees, at the times we are crowd, at the times we are this woman who caused a sin. Jesus tells this woman in verse 10 and 11, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" "No one, sir," she says. "Then neither do I condemn you." Jesus is clear. "Go now, live your life of sin." Jesus does not say, "I will forgive you if you do this." He just let her go. Only thing he says, "Go now, live your life of sin." This is like us. When we were sinful and we were to die, we've been saved. Not by condition. It does not say, if you do this, you will be saved. The God's grace gave to us so we can be saved from the eternal death. It is saying here, always these things you can reflect it on what that God has given to us. Jesus had a compassion for the sinner, right? And we are saved by same grace. I wanted to kind of look at this in a little different in terms of, I want to compare something, right? I want you to think about it. When we talk about sins and things that we do, we think of, well, these are really bad ones. Adultery, murder, killing someone, that's really bad, right? Stealing something, slandering, lying, these are really bad sins, right? Everybody says that, right? What about this? Jealousy, gossip a little bit, you're a little bit envy of somebody, you have a pride, that's starting, but you're angry at something. Well, that must not be as bad. In God's eyes, from God's point of view, they are all sin. Right? So, we cannot say, well, I don't kill anyone, I don't steal anyone, I don't slander anyone, so I'm not sinful. That is not how the God sees it. So, just to wrap up everything, Jesus teaches the forgiveness just on this passage. Right? It's not just this woman who committed adultery, but it's about all and each and every one of us. Remember that we are all part of these three different groups we have. We're talking about person who is a sinner, crowd that was around, and also Pharisees and teachers who were trying to accuse. We are at the time all three. We all need forgiveness for it. If Jesus forgave us, and if we cannot forgive each other, seriously, what's the point? What is the point? One of the things that I've attended, I think, was Father's School. That was a few years back. It really talks about, it's something that we should get a chance, that whether it's a mother's school or father's school, anyone who has a chance should attend. It really talks about, at the end, the bottom line is, whatever that you have inside, by forgiving, okay, Most of Father School talks about a relationship with the Father and the Son. So my relationship with my Father, that determines me my career. But it really dictates your life quite a bit. Whether it was an abusive father, whether it was a good father, or it was something else, it really determines it. And when you are with 50 different people, and at the end, it comes to recognition that how much there is a anger and resentment that is inside of you. You may not know it, but that is there. And by forgiving whoever that is, generally in Father School, it becomes your father, actually. It really does make things different. My father passed away a few years back. And I honestly did not get a chance to talk to him about this, which is one of my regrets. I wish I had a chance to do that. I wish I had a chance to do that. It's such a difficult thing to forgive. It really doesn't matter whether that person actually committed something. But when you are internally have those things, it's a big portion of your life and dictates how that is. So I'm not able to do that. Wasn't able to do it. Even after Father School, I did not get a chance to do that. But again, if you get a chance, and if there's such a situation, what's the point? What's the point of being a Jesus disciple if we cannot forgive each other? Are you going to stand on the front of Christ when you go to heaven? And let's seriously think that we are going to heaven, right? We have to. You are in heaven and you say to God and Christ, our Lord, that I could not forgive this one. I hated this person throughout my life. For whatever reason, they did me wrong. What are we doing? So, before we get there, when we are alive, maybe someone did wrong to you. Maybe they committed such a crime. But still, it is a chance for you to be able to forgive them. Because Jesus is the perfect example, perfect mom. So, again, it may be small thing, it may be big thing. It may be friend, something. Think about what could be. If it's something that happened past, doesn't matter. Remember what Christ did and forgive them for it. You will not regret that. If you do not forgive them, you will regret it when you don't have a chance to do that. Okay. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as a Christian and as your disciple, we want to follow you. We want to follow your footsteps and do the things as you taught us. But we are weak, we're sinful, and we're not able to. Please give us a strength, and please give us a heart where we can forgive others as we go about this life, as we cure and as we solve these internal problems by forgiving others, that we can show your love and your grace to others. We want to be able to truly become your children and truly blessed and truly be humble and be able to receive as a master will congratulate and master will say to the servant that you did well, that we want to be truly be able to follow